Hello and welcome to another Meridian yoga video. In this practice, we will be working with the emotional axis of the body. So if we were to divide the yin meridians into three groups, they would comprise the physical, emotional, and spiritual axes of the body. So we deal with the emotional axis, the pericardium and the liver, in order to transform some of this turbulent energy, this turbulent chi that makes the side body tight. So liver emotionally is frustration, drive. It's the hun in the five spirit cycle. So heart is Shen, the liver is this creative drive. And when out of balance, so if you're a wood element person, you might really understand this. When out of balance, the liver leads toward anger and kind of like a boiling pot. Everything kind of comes to the surface. So you might get really tight in your upper back and shoulders. Gallbladder 21 is right up here on the upper trapezius, so you might notice tension in your traps. You might also start to notice tension in the sides of your neck. You might get headaches as everything kind of starts to pull there. So what we're really seeking to do in this sequence is move some of that energy from liver heat into heart heat, which is joy, it's freedom, it's self-expression. Sometimes the liver, because it's such a creative force, we can kind of fixate on things that seem like they might be giving us the joy and what we need, but it's just kind of spinning wheels. And liver is such an important one because especially in the winter, we might be eating heavier foods. The days are shorter, so the metabolism's kind of off kilter. And the liver, when it's burdened, when it's overburdened, it really starts to pull some of the heart spirit, some of the heart essence away, which can lead to lethargy, depression. So this practice might help you move some of that energy, help you lift out of sluggishness and stagnation and just reconnect with the joy of being alive. I hope that you enjoy. We will begin in a seated posture, just starting with some pranayama to begin with. So you can sit really nice and tall. We'll bring a lotus mudra to our lap here. So if you're in half or full lotus, that's one of the ultimate postures to work into the liver and the gallbladder channels. So you might work on Padmasana, half or full. I can actually show you here. So if you're coming into a seat with lotus, it's sometimes bringing one foot up, right or left. First is easier. And then think about rotating from your hips. So your hips are nice and open, and then your feet kind of hook in here, and they support a nice lifted spine. So you could even just stretch the palms out and away from the spine, and then find your lotus mudra. We trace the energy lines in the body. And always starting with the lung channel, so the lung prana through breath. And just to touch on those axes again in the body, physical, emotional, spiritual. The physical deals with lung and then stomach and spleen. So lung is air chi, like gifting the body energy through prana. So you could think about that. What we take in is what builds the body. So always try to gift yourself really smooth, centered breaths, and maybe sense in something even deeper as you allow your face to relax and the eyelids to soften. And you might already know this, especially if you're familiar with Meridian yoga, or you enjoy these deeper spiritual practices is the connection between the liver and the diaphragm. So the liver is our largest organ. It's on the right side of the body. And when the liver is swollen or stagnant, it gets burdened by fatty foods, alcohol, even processed foods like too much sugar causes inflammation. And it's usually the standard American diet that causes fatty liver disease and other issues in the liver. So connecting through the diaphragm to breathe can help nurture the rhythm of the liver as an organ. And if you are in your lotus, you can also hook in here to liver 3, right in between the first and second toes. And you can do one at a time, or you can do both. Just finding some acupressure there to connect with the liver. And what starts to happen over time, if we fall into a constricted breath pattern, or we're breathing too much into the chest and the diaphragm gets tight, everything in here starts to get tight, you can actually develop a stress pattern. We call it an upper burner stress pattern, where everything's kind of like you feel like you're gasping for air because you haven't been breathing down and sending the energy down. So heat likes to rise. Liver heat will rise. So you might have, again, that pain pattern where you have a shoulder that's tight, or shoulders that start to pull forward because everything's trying to protect the heart. So that's where the pericardium comes into place. So when we pair these two meridians, liver and pericardium, we'll work liver mainly through twists, like compressing the viscera and breathing with the diaphragm. Twists also work into the paired meridian of the liver, the gallbladder. So keeping an eye on the sides of your neck, your jaw. And then when we work pericardium, we're lengthening out through the palm. So the base of the palm, right at the wrist crease. If you want to find pericardium 6 and 7 there. 6 is right at the wrist crease, and 7 is up just a little bit higher. If you have little lines on your wrist, it might be right near one of those. It's right in between the tendon. And you can kind of move the wrist around. As you're holding pressure, you might notice sensations. What these 2 points do, and especially pericardium 6, it clears heat. So back to heat from the liver and of overtaking the heart. This is a really good point. I'll also show it to you when we access binds. So when we're working with the liver and we find our bind, we're going to bind around and reach in for pericardium 6 or pericardium 7. So familiarizing yourself with where these points are on the wrist crease will help, so you know where to hook in. Clears heat. It also calms the mind, those turbulent thoughts. And we could do one more myofascial stretch here, just extending the arms out to the side, the base of the wrist crease, pulling the fingers back. We'll do 8 breaths here. You want to keep the shoulders down, like you're reaching out from the deepest part of yourself, inside your chest. And try to keep your tongue gentle in your mouth, resting it on your upper palate, so just behind your upper teeth, so you don't clench your jaw. And see if you can sense this length happening, this spread happening from deeper in the chest. We're halfway there. You may notice some tingling or burning sensations as you open through your nerves. So the nerve bundles travel through the connective tissue, so don't be alarmed. You might enjoy it. Keep squeezing muscle to bone. Try to keep the arms strong. 2 more breaths. And we'll change. If you're in your lotus, you can just come out of it, any other seat that you found yourself in, and we'll come forward into a tabletop next. And you might notice how those meridian stretches, especially through the heart and through the pericardium, they really warm the body. It's like warming the energy. So the element of the heart is fire, whereas the element of the liver is wood. You don't have to fixate too much on that, but just understanding the 5-element cycle, and then also the destruction cycle, where you can balance certain elements by incorporating an element that either creates it, like fosters it, or destroys it. So that's another way to think about working deeper into these practices. So coming into all fours, tabletop, we'll work some reverse wrist cat-cows. So again, the base of the wrist crease, pericardium 6, spread the fingers out nice and wide, and then we'll just drop the belly down. So just like traditional cat-cow, except when you go to round, really press into the palms and maybe even pull the tailbone back toward the heel. So you spread the hands, kind of like you would spread the bottoms of your feet if you're in a forward fold. If this is too much, go halfway and see if you can rotate the fingers to face just toward the edges of your mat. If you can go all the way back and you want to go a little deeper, you could lengthen the legs and come into your downward dog. And you just want to experience a softening, a spreading of that connective tissue that travels through the palms, the base of the wrists. And then you can unwind and just come into your traditional down dog. But still check on your hands, your fingers, and your wrists. So index fingers parallel with one another, feeling more of an anchor of your leverage between your index finger and your thumb. So that's lung and large intestine pathway there. You can spread back, dropping the chest toward the tops of the legs, strengthening the legs. Try to get the heels closer to the floor. Maybe lift the heels up and drop them down a couple times, warming up the body, activating these pathways. And then once you're steady, observing your breath through your diaphragm. See if you could imagine your liver. Maybe visualize it on the right side of the body. Keeping a smooth flow of breath in and out. And just hone your awareness. Observe any sensations that you feel, and then we'll come down to the mat on an exhale, trying to ground the heart right between the hands, knees, chest, chin. And then as you lengthen the legs back, slide the palms back, toes and heels together. Inhale, Bhujangasana. Baby Cobra. Let's do 3 breaths here. So as you inhale, let your lungs float your chest. And as you exhale, stay and squeeze. Pressing back to a downward dog. Look to the hands, step your right foot forward, warrior 1. Rise up. Kali Mudra, left thumb on top. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, flow. As you plant the hands, you can step the right leg back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale upward. And exhale, downward dog. Left leg forward, warrior 1, right thumb on top, Kali Mudra, sink deep, use your breath, and flow. Maybe take a deep breath here, come to the top of the mat, and deepen your fold. Rise, hands heart center. Deep breath in. Now bring your right arm under your left. Garudasana, just the arm. Shift your balance into your left leg and step back. Low lunge. As you open up the arms this time, right thumb on top. Now use a little more energy, sinking down and reaching up. Deepen your breath. And change. Plant your hands. Flip your dog. Right hand in the middle of your mat. Left foot to the ground behind you. Reaching. And knees, chest, chin. Cobra. And down dog. Look to your hands. Practice your float to the top of your mat. Hands heart center. Inhale. Left arm under right. Sinking into the legs. Shift into the right leg. Low lunge. As you land the left leg, reach through the arms. Just try to think about letting gravity drop your arms back by your ears a little bit more. Keep reaching. Keep breathing. And change. Flipping your dog, left palm centers, right arm reaches up. Maybe you can reach all the way around for your full wheel. And come back through your flow. We meet up in down dog, going in a little deeper. Deepen your breath in and out. Looking to hands. Try to think about transferring the energy into your arms. Rise up. And hands, heart center. Mountain pose. Close your eyes. Feel your breath. We'll shift into the left leg again, this time scooping up the right knee. And then as you reach back, hands, heart center, warrior 3. Bend the left leg as you land. Low lunge and twist. Right shoulder outside of your left knee. You can bring your left hand to the base of your spine for support. Otherwise, reaching your left arm high. You can also find a bind here, reaching underneath your left leg. Your right middle finger will find the base of your wrist crease. Pericardium 6. Just flood your liver with breath. What do you notice? You can come through the triple warmer, the back body strength to lift the eyes, start to twist the heart up. Another thing you can do is lift your right leg off the mat. As you release, come inside of your left leg. Bring your right hand into the middle of your mat and find Vashisthasana. So a variation here, you can scoop up. You can scoop up your left leg. Maybe you reach the left leg up, starting to drop the gaze back. Maybe left fingertips all the way to the floor. And change. Chaturanga. And exhale, down dog. Deepen your breath. Practicing your float. Deepen your fold. Rise. And hands, heart center. Shift into your right leg. Left knee to left shoulder. Trying to compress the left side, to relax the left side. Warrior 3 just for a beat. Just to move some energy, wake it up. Land low lunge. Reach up as you breathe in. And then exhale, deepening your twist. Left shoulder to right knee, guiding your right wrist near your left psoas as you reach your left fingers into the right wrist crease there. Connecting breath through the left side body. Still staying mindful of your neck, your jaw. Coming up on the back leg if you're ready. And release. Left hand plants, reaching for your right knee. Maybe the heel or the big toe. If you want to lengthen the leg up. And then dropping all the way back into your wheel. Feel the center of your chest warm and spreading, and radiate that center through the arms. When you're ready to come back, follow your breath. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward. Exhale, downward dog. Now bring your feet to the sides of your mat and walk your hands back a little closer to your toes. Right hand hooks around the outer left ankle. You can get in there to bladder 62. You could just massage up the outer ankle there. See if you can feel your breath falling and lifting back into the liver on the right side. And change. Reaching around. You take a little peek under your right arm. Now as you release, sit back into your malasana. We'll work on the pericardium again here between the palms. the base of the wrists. If you want to, go in a little deeper here. Come into your crow. Knees squeezing in to the outside of the arms. Try to get up really high near the shoulders. Lean your balance into your arms. You can also do this supported with the bone structure. Knees will plug into the armpits, resting on the backs of the arms. In between sets, massage the wrist crease with the toes. Coming into Padahastasana. You can do a couple sets and really make sure the fingers are spreading wide. Another option is a baby crow, setting up like a forearm stand or a forearm plank, and then resting your knees on the backs of your arms here. You should feel the connective tissue and we're using some acupressure to pull on it, to spread it. When you're all done, come down onto your belly, toes and heels together. And again, Bhujangasana. Inhale, coming up, and then stay and squeeze. Come up a little higher, stay and squeeze. One more breath, and then press back. Downward dog. We'll step our right foot forward. Come into warrior two. Virabhadrasana 2. And we'll be here for a little while so we can deepen it, following the liver pathway from the first and second toes. It comes up the inner legs and up to the front ribs here. So try to settle the pelvis, adding pericardium, reaching out. Now we'll soften the wrists, lean forward, right shoulder inside of your right knee. Flip your fingers to face backwards and find your side angle. Keep sending breath to the liver. Relaxing jaw. If your arm doesn't quite reach all the way to the floor, bring your elbow inside of the knee and use a block. So bring the ground up to you. If you feel really good here, come back into a bind underneath the right leg. You can always change your mind. We'll come down to the floor into our lizard. So letting the left leg relax back. Try to crawl the left knee back in space a little bit further. A couple breaths. Try to come down onto your forearms if you can. As you press back up, coming onto the left shin now, stargazer, reaching everything up, and then coming back into the right leg for skandasana. And malasana. And this time we'll find a bind around the left leg. So reaching your left fingers forward, maybe palm to the floor, right arm up, and bind around your left leg. Now here's where we can have a little fun. We could keep the bind around this leg and bring it up. So this is bound Marichyasana, or bound birds of paradise. But coming back into the standing leg, the right leg, more than anything. Strengthen it, spread it, lengthen it. And then when you're done, bringing your left heel high up onto the right hip crease and fold forward. So half lotus into your forward fold. So many options. You can bind around the low back here, catching liver 3 in between the first and second toes. You can stay and meditate on everything lengthening and opening through the side body. Another thing you could do would be to come down into horse, half or full, maybe with the bind or without the bind. Really working on the liver pathway here. Liver and gallbladder. If you went down, we'll all meet back up in just the forward fold. Now this is a little bit fun too. Coming back with your right foot, see if you can keep your half lotus in your Vashisthasana. Maybe reach, deepen it in some way. And then find your down dog to spread everything out and flow. Meeting up in downward dog. Left foot forward. Warrior 2. Again, deepening in. Pressing out through the palms. And sense something, feel something as you sink deeper. Side angle. Any variation. If you lose focus or the posture feels really challenging, meditate on the pathways. And rather than coming all the way out of a pose, could you just change it a little? Maybe back off a little, but still stay with your intention. Stay with the energy. Lizard, coming down deeply. Try to be on your forearm so you're still working that pericardium connection. Then as you come back up, finding your stargazer, pressing, lifting the heart, and then skandasana, the other way. You could go back and forth if you want to, trying to keep your hands off of the floor, and then we'll find ourselves one more time in Armalasana, finding the bind now around the right leg. So reaching for the wrist crease. If you want to try coming up, bringing your feet closer together so that you can shift onto your left leg. And if you come out, don't worry. You can always find your bound birds from standing. So just reaching around the front of the right leg, just like that bind. And then come back into your standing leg. Be really intentional. Half lotus. Right heel as high up as you can go. And then folding forward. Your right heel should come into the left side body. They're making connection with the organs. So you could move the heel around in there, massaging the abdomen. You could also massage liver 3 on either foot, just pinching in there. If you want to come down into half or full horse pose, that's an option too. Full horse, it's your left foot to the floor, but for half horse, it could just be your left shin. And coming up. And my teacher always likes to say, don't be so afraid of your knees. If you open your hips first, so just be mindful Try not to force or push anything, but you don't have to avoid always lotus or these harder postures. If you want to, set the left hand down and come into your half lotus side plank. Reach the heart up, maybe full wheel. Lifting the heels. Vinyasa, any variations. And let's find a child's pose now. Opening the knees wide. Settling down for a couple breaths. Making sure your breath is still moving. Now we'll walk the knees under the pelvis and bring the hands out in front of us for Anahatasana. Heart melting pose. If this feels really intense, you can always modify. If you have a couple blocks, you can bring your elbows onto the blocks and just try to bring your forehead down to the floor. So that'll help. If you don't have blocks, you could also do this with books. I'll link some blocks that I really love. So now we'll come into some forearm stand practice. And I don't want this to feel like a place where you just kind of turn the video off and think, oh, I can't do that pose, so I can't finish the practice. I'm going to show you so many different ways to modify this, just to work on getting the sensation of putting a little more connection into the elbows and the arms and the pericardium pathway. So you can use a wall, and I'll just show you here. You can bring your mat a little bit closer up to the wall, and you're going to set up like a baby crow or like a forearm plank. So you don't want your hands to come in. Keep them parallel. It'll really help you maintain that integrity as we go up. So I'm bringing my mat maybe about a foot away from the wall, so that as I kick up, I can pull my legs back off the wall and find a little bit of hang time. As balance gets easier, try kicking up further and further away from the wall until eventually you don't need the wall at all, and you can just kick up or lift up one leg at a time. So I'll show you here, keeping your gaze out in front of your fingers so your chest is lifting up, bringing one leg up at a time. And just try to find balance. So bring the legs together. and come out. I'll show you what it looks like from the side. You set up, elbows under the shoulders, gaze forward, kick up, and just try to stay up for as long as you can. And then come out. If you need to take a break, work on those reverse wrist cat-cows. You can also just sit for a moment. Let's do one more. I can show you how to have a little fun with it, with the leg variations too. You want to come up and start to walk your toes down the wall. And see if you can hang out in a scorpion. Just an option. Another way that really helps, if you can get one leg up and on the wall, try bringing the other leg into your lotus, into your half lotus, and then balance. When you're all done with that, we'll just sit on our heels for a moment and we'll just press in through liver 15, which is right on those bottom two floating ribs, right in between. There's a little pocket, a little hole in between those ribs. You can massage in small circles. Liver 15. So if arm balancing is a goal of yours in practice, like handstands, stuff like that, it's all about strengthening the heart and the pericardium pathways through the hands, the arms, the armpits, all of that. So it can be really fun to just set a goal. Maybe you practice it for 10 minutes a day if you're new to the posture. And don't be afraid of getting your friends or your family involved. I've had my husband spot me a lot, working on getting away from the wall. So that can just help you build confidence and trust in yourself. And also not being afraid to fall out of the pose. So if you know a safe exit, and a lot of times that's just letting the feet come over so that you're in your forearm wheel, or even just if you have to fall off to the side, tuck your chin so you protect your head and your neck. Maybe practice on a rug or something soft nearby. I hope that that helps. And if you have any other questions, always feel free to let me know. I can break down the posture in another video, just workshopping Pinchamayurasana. But for this sequence, it's a really wonderful pose because it brings us into the heart, into the pericardium. Everything's really open and expressive. So it's a really beautiful pose, as is this next one, our Ustrasana, our camel. So camel pose, we'll do this one 3 times, setting up support for the low back, reaching around for the backs of your legs. Some deep breaths. As you come back up, sit down in between your heels. Virasana. So we're right on liver 3. If you need a block underneath your pelvis for this pose, you can be here. Otherwise, try to get your sit bones down to the mat. You can stay lifted or start walking yourself back onto your forearms. That might be a really great place to work on building that strength. Otherwise, coming all the way down onto the back of your head and your neck. And again, you can find liver 15 on the rib cage. I could also show you some conception vessel points for upper burner stress pattern. So that would be CV17, right in between the breasts. There's a little hole, little hollow there on the sternum. You can get in there, massage. Sometimes it might bring a lot up to the surface, so just keep that in mind. Just focusing on deepening your breath. As you come back, you can come to all fours, tuck the toes under, just send the tailbone back. Then coming into our second set of camel, going in a little deeper. Coming up, head comes up last. Keep your balance in your left shin. Bring your right foot forward and come into your half saddle. So it's like Virasana with only one leg back, just the left leg back. And just hug your right knee into center and just give yourself a twist over to the right. If you want to go a little deeper, half lotus your right foot over your left leg and twist with the bind around the right foot into liver 3. See if you can ground your left palm down to the floor underneath your right leg. So you're actively stretching and spreading the heart tissue. As you release, keep the half saddle, just reach around for the opposite side of each, or opposite side of your right foot, and just lengthen the right foot up and in front of you. And we'll change. Final set of camel. If you want to work on advanced variations, Lagavadrasana or the heart stretch, reaching your arms back, you're welcome to. Otherwise, just going into your deepest expression, whatever that is for you today. And keep deepening your breath. And you come up, bringing the left foot forward, right leg in half saddle, twisting to the left. If you want a little more, half lotus, bind. And letting that go. Opposite sides of your left foot, lengthen it long. Try to lift up through the chest, maybe lift the gaze. And release. You can come through a knees, chest, chin vinyasa. If you're working on your cobra, we'll meet up on all fours and work into Gomukhasana. So let's cross our left leg over the back of our right shin. Coming to sit back, walking the feet out to the side, nice tall spine. Now let's just start with a little stretch up and over to the left. And again, you can visualize this paired pathway between liver and gallbladder as the side of the neck, down the side, body, the ribs, the IT band. It's all connected. Coming up, bring that right arm down so the hand comes up the back, left elbow overhead. And then see if you can keep the bind with your arms as you fold forward. If it's too much with the bind, you can let it go. Now really deepen your breath. Imagine how every wave of breath is allowing you to unwind something that you're holding, to soften some tension that is accumulated through this pathway. 5 more breaths. Now as you come up, bring your right leg out to the side like you're going to come into a frog pose. We're not going to come into a full frog, just a half frog. So your left leg can lengthen out long. Try to keep the sole of your left foot flat to the floor. Walk your forearms down and just come into a half frog. So you're working the right leg primarily. Now frog, you want to keep your pelvis pressing back. You want to visualize the liver pathway in through the groin and the inner thighs. This is a place where a lot of us hold tension. So just giving ourselves permission to soften into it, to let it go. And over time, this tension that accumulates starts to affect the tilt of our pelvis and a lot of other yoga postures too, just because the inner thighs and the outer legs are tight. So working in here is really important. If it gets too intense, remember, try to stay, but maybe just back out of it a little bit. You might be surprised by what can happen if you stay, allowing something to let go. When you have reached a breaking point here, maybe you were able to go a little further than you thought, or you're just ready to come out, bring your right foot behind you, tuck the toes under, sit back like you're coming into Skandasana, and then just come over toward that leg. You can come onto the top of your left knee, and then send your hips back, kind of like a half splits, half Hanumanasana. And just let the posture go. You can shake it out. And then lift up into your down dog when you're ready. Spreading that posture out. We'll drop back down onto our knees, this time bringing our right shin over the back of our left leg, Gomukhasana. Make sure that you feel level, sitting up nice and tall, reaching up and over to the right, left arm up. You can bring your gaze up if it's suitable for your neck and your spine. Otherwise, relaxing the face, the jaw. And as you reach, you're just imagining the connective tissue pathway getting longer. You want to spread the energy using your awareness. So the arm's not just hanging out. It's really intentional. We breathe in, the space opens. We can reach a little further maybe. We can soften something through the neck, through the jaw, and then release. Right hand up the shoulder, right elbow overhead, Gomukhasana. Right in between where the middle fingers hook, that's the pericardium. Through the center of the palm into the middle finger. So see if you can stay
connected to that as you come forward. You can always let the arm grip go if you want to focus a little bit more through your legs, through your hip. Remember, everything is energy. Thoughts can move the prana. You can send your thoughts to an area of the body. Concentrate there. Maybe allow something to let go. Keeping the breath smooth and full and deep, taking 5 more breaths here. And release, lifting up. Now come onto your left shin. You can cushion your mat if you need to. Sending your right foot out long. See if you can keep yourself supported here, either coming onto forearms, maybe walking the left knee out a little bit more. And try not to let yourself be discouraged by postures that are challenging or new. We all have an area of the body that needs a little more focus, just based on lifestyle, even genetics. If you're into Ayurveda, you might know your dosha, so you can figure out what elements are strongest in your constitution. You might have those meridians really foundationally strong for you, needing to work on the others. And these pathways also emphasize certain qualities of the body, certain systems, depending on the season that we're in. So we might be able to go really, really deep into something at a certain time of the year, and then we try to find it 6 months later, and it's really, really hard. So just be compassionate. Curiosity and compassion. Now, final frontier here. Try to come into your full pose, frog. It doesn't have to be deep, just make it intentional. When you come down, Really focusing into the liver here. But also all of the yin meridians through the inner legs, spleen, kidney. It also has a lot to do with our second chakra, sacral chakra energy here. See if you can stay for 10 more breaths. You might trace the pathway, you might observe your breath, or just stay connected to a deeper reason behind your practice. Remembering the intention of this sequence is to move some of the liver heat into the heart. And sometimes liver is not even because we have a bad diet. It could also be because we're inherently very creative and we haven't done enough of that expressive quality, or that artistic element has been lacking in our lives. So sometimes when we've lost connection from our purpose, it can manifest in frustration and anger, which is the liver. That's the emotion of the liver. So giving yourself compassion if that's your situation as well. Just taking our time, coming out of frog. And notice I'm just pressing now as I come out of this on liver 3 one more time. So right in between the first and second toes on the top of each foot, I'm just kind of sinking in a little bit more, seeing if I can work anything else out through this pathway. And then as you come back, just kind of bringing yourself up. And then if you need to, sit back on your heels for a moment. If you need to touch your sacrum or just help release any tension in there, you can massage. We're going to come back into one more gallbladder opener to complement that. Come into our pigeon, with an option of adding a little bit of heart opening. You're coming into your mermaid or your full pigeon. So we'll come into downward dog first, and we'll start this next sequence on the left side. So we want to bring the left knee up toward the left wrist crease, sliding back through the right leg, trying to sit really tall. You can bind here if you'd like, reaching for liver 3 on the left foot, maybe bringing your right hand to your left knee. If you notice your left hip is far away from the floor, you can bring a block into the equation and just help open the posture with a little lift underneath the left leg. And then you could work the angle of your front leg a little wider, a little more open. So you might get into a different section of the gallbladder channel. Maybe also the hamstrings in the back body. So you can play around with that, opening up the angle, maybe shifting. Connective tissue is so patient. Tiny, tiny movements can really affect and ripple through the whole structure. You can take a peek at your back leg and just make sure that it's nice and long and supported. So if you're working on the angle of the front leg, you can stay lifted or fold. And if you fold, it's going to bring a little bit more sensation into the equation. So just keep that in mind. You could also be somewhere in between, just reaching out through your heart. So we're going to be here for a while. So if you want to work into a back bend variation, you might want your left heel in a little closer. You can either stay on the block, you can come off the block, reaching back for your right foot and bringing it around. You can grab on to liver 3, maybe reaching for both hands to the foot. If you want one more variation that feels really good, finding that bind again, and then thread the needle, bringing your right arm underneath you over to the left, and then just resting on your right temple. And it feels a little bit like half lotus again, the energy of that. As you're ready to release, go ahead and bring your right knee into your shoulder again. Just lengthen your left leg long, sitting really tall. Twisting over to the right. And then change. Starting in your downward dog. Guiding your right knee up. And again, picking your opening variation. If you want to work on being a little more right angled with the front leg. Try to close the pelvis back off, shoulders back off. Someday you might be able to walk all the way down and melt the ankle and the knee with your two shoulders. So you could practice that. Always be checking in on your breath. Can you deepen it? Can you lengthen it? You're always welcome to stay if where you're at is feeling really good. Otherwise, working on another variation, maybe reaching back for the left foot. And then coming into your favorite variation, or if you're already there, see if you can stay there for your very, very deepest breaths. If you like to catch liver 3 and thread, it's a really great option. As you lift up and out, bringing left leg into left shoulder, extending your right leg long. One more seated twist.
Now we'll come into full lotus. So from the back of our mat, you can also come into half lotus. If you come into your full lotus, we're going to do a couple things. The first is pressing up away from the floor, trying to see if you can get your feet in a little bit, kind of pushing the feet in to let them go off to the edges of your legs a little bit more. So you can lift up and then come down, doing that a couple times. Go one more. And release. Now we have an option to try a couple things. The first is to reach around the back here and hook in between both of the big toes. So working in to this pose. And just notice what you notice here. Another thing we could do is come back and up into our shoulder stand with our lotus legs. See if you can keep your lotus and then come up. And just notice what you feel. If you feel called to explore something, maybe lengthening the legs up, or finding Garudasana, coming through some shoulder stand variations. And we could work all the way back into plow. And maybe interlacing the fingers, trying to work the palms together. You could also reach around for liver 3 here. And kind of pressing in on gallbladder 21 in shoulder stand, trying to send some of that energy down.
See if you can sense that one more time. When you're ready to release, come onto your back, Supta Baddha Konasana, and reach around for the front of each shin here. So coming underneath your thigh and your outer ankle to scoop up the fronts of the ankles there. Final posture will be a full wheel, and we'll do it 3 times. So setting up, bringing your fingers back to face your shoulders, just coming up as you're ready. First set, lifting the heels away from the floor, deepening your breath. Tucking your chin to come down, bringing your feet to the sides of your mat. Just let your knees fall in toward one another. You could also let the legs fall side to side. Second set, again going in a little deeper. If you don't have a full wheel, you can also grab the front of your ankles here for a bridge. So coming into a deeper bridge, if full wheel is a little too challenging, no worries. Otherwise, coming up into wheel. Now deepening it a little, reaching your left leg up. And then your right leg. And tuck the chin to come down. Again, knees falling toward each other. Now finding the side of your neck here with the back of each hand. Just neutralizing your neck. And also opening up into the arms. Getting more into the heart. And final set, your deepest, deepest expression. Try for a full wheel, otherwise bridge, supported bridge. See if you can lengthen your legs out long. You could also dip the pelvis down. Finding a variation that feels good to you. And we'll come back. Let's just give our knees a little squeeze here into the side of our chest. You draw some circles. And then when you're ready, bring both knees over to your left. And then lengthen your right arm out, keeping your palm down to the floor. So spreading the connective tissue. Your left fingers might find liver 15 on the ribs. You could do diaphragm release there. Otherwise, just relaxing your jaw, your neck. And change. Knees in again one more time, a really tight squeeze. And then knees falling over to the right, palm down to the floor. Try to get that shoulder to stay on the floor, stretching everything across the chest. And release. If you need any other postures to feel complete, anything at all, you're welcome to take a minute or two working into those. Otherwise, coming onto your back. Final pose, Shavasana. A deep breath in through the lungs. Lungs, large intestine, moving from thumb to index finger. Index finger into the nostrils. Nostrils to the lower eyelids, that stomach. And down the front body. Moving into the big toe from the second toe, stomach to spleen, spleen coming up the inner legs, the inner ankles, the arches. And all the way up into the heart. Heart extending out into the little fingers. Heart transforming into small intestine. The small intestine coming into the innermost ear. Emerging
in the tear ducts, bladder, going up over the crown of the head and down the back body, re-emerging at the soles of the feet, kidneys traveling up to meet the pericardium, pericardium extending out into the middle fingers, moving into the ring fingers, triple warmer wrapping around and back to the outer edges of the ears, the temples, the gallbladder, traveling around, zigzagging around the side body, the neck, the jaw, the ribs, the IT band into the fourth toe, moving into the big toe, back for liver, in between the big and second toes. And again, up the inner arches of the feet, the inner legs, all the yin sides of the body into the liver organ, where it moves again into the solar plexus, so deep in the body. So that's the circuit. When you're ready to come out of your Shavasana, just rolling over onto your right side. Giving yourself a couple moments there, a couple deep breaths. And then rising up into an easy seat. It's a comfortable seat. It could be your lotus again, if you really want to enjoy the effects of this practice. And we dedicate our practice to the benefit of all beings everywhere. May we all be at peace and free.